Have you ever wondered why you get along with some of your clients just perfectly while you struggle to communicate with some others? Maybe it feels like an uphill battle, or they're just not understanding things, or maybe you're not building rapport quick enough. Well, you're in luck, because in today's video, we're going to be discussing the DISC personality test, which in my opinion is one of the easiest personality assessments to understand. And you can use this in your day-to-day business to build rapport quicker, to make sure that they're understanding you at the level that you want them to, and to ease tension if there are hiccups during the transaction. So let's get into it. Let's go over the 4 other things that I think you should know about each personality type. First, we're going to talk a little bit further detail about the characteristics of each personality type, just to make sure we hammer that home, because that part's pretty vital. Then we're going to talk about how to spot each personality type when you're speaking to them, and then of course building rapport and communicating with them, and lastly, how to tailor your presentation to them, because this is a real estate training channel after all. I want to make sure you guys are able to walk away with something that will help you in the field. Now, let's get into the part that is going to be most effective for you, assuming that you're doing buyer presentations and listing presentations, which I suggest both. I know a lot of agents in the real estate space skip the buyer's presentation, but I do not suggest that, so I will give you some examples on both for each personality type. For the D personality, when you were sitting across from them, whether a buyer or listing consultation, you need to be direct to the point and explain to them exactly how you're going to get them to your goals, and that's really all you need to do. In essence, whenever you learn all of these personality types, the D will quickly become one of your favorites. They might not seem like it at first, because a lot of times they give you the most heartache. They're the quickest ones to give you a commission objection or something like that. But once you understand the personality type, you can explain your value, you're not going to have to worry about that anymore, and they're actually going to be pretty easy to work with. As long as you demonstrate you know what you're doing, the high D will go ahead and back out and let you do your thing. Now, whenever you're actually doing the presentation, try to keep it precise and to the point. So whenever you are doing a presentation with them, one of the techniques that I generally use are just going over the points that match their goals. Anything that they happen to mention to me that is important to them, I'm going to hit whichever portion of my presentation is centered around that. And sometimes I'm going to skip a good chunk of it. They're going to be happy about that. Don't do that with the high C personality, because if they see you skip a page in your presentation, all they're going to be thinking about is what was on that dang page. But for the high D, get straight to the point, cool. If I've got a 20-page presentation, I'm probably only going over 3 or 4 of those. Now, I don't have a 20-page, but I'm just trying to, kind of give you an idea of what to do with a high D. But that doesn't mean you get to skip anything that is important to them that's very important, and that is a very key portion of the presentation with the high D. And of course, as long as you're tailoring it more toward the things versus the people, you'll generally be pretty good. So if you're doing a listing presentation, you don't need to say things like, oh, everybody's just going to love your home. There's going to be so many people in here. Nope, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear, we're going to get a bunch of people in here, because the more people that we get in here, the better chance that we've got the right person that's going to give you the best offer possible. Any questions? No? Move on. Now with the high I is fun in presentations, because you get to include them. Now the presentation may be longer. I just had one that is generally a buyer consultation of 1 hour that ended up taking 3. Now a lot of that was because I was enjoying the conversation, so I wasn't bringing them back on topic consistently like I generally would, but that is generally what you're going to have to do with a high I if you want to salvage a little bit of your time. But don't do it too much, because if the high I doesn't feel like they are heard, it's going to damage a little bit of that reputation and that rapport that you have built. So spend a little bit of extra time, leave a lot of extra time for, like I said before, anecdotes and stories, and try to insert them as much as possible. So when we're talking, let's say, a listing presentation, focus on the things that a high I would find important. Remember, think people-oriented. So think, we're going to throw this thing all up over the internet. You're going to get tens of thousands of views, whatever number makes sense for your marketplace. Don't tell them hundreds of thousands if you're in a marketplace where it only showcases that the home gets shown 100 times, right? And this is online showings, things like that, and just kind of explain how that's going to be awesome to them. Oh, we're gonna do the focal point of your backyard. This is the focal point of the house. You've got that beautiful pergola and the fire pit, and people are just going to enjoy that. We're going to do an open house for sure. We're going to tell all your neighbors about it. They're all going to know that you're on the market. They're going to be excited for you. They're going to come over. They're going to check out everything and see what your house is all about, and you get to be kind of the star of the neighborhood for a while. And then, of course, do the same thing on the buyer presentation side. How are these things going to affect them and the people around them that they like? Oh, hey, this pool in the backyard is going to be amazing. All your friends are going to want to come over. Oh, this area of town that you're looking in is right near downtown. You're going to be walking distance to all the action and all the people. Now, when it comes to the high S personality, you want to tailor your entire presentation around the tools and services that you provide that are going to help them in their relationships and their stability. And the biggest key takeaway for a high S personality is do not overwhelm them with information that they don't deem necessary. So this means that you don't need to necessarily go through all of the reasoning on how you got, let's say, your pricing on a listing presentation. You still need to do the basics. They still need to understand what their home is worth. But you don't need to go in minute detail over every little detail. Oh, the countertops are giving you an extra $2,000 above this comparable, but not as much in this one. Things like that you don't need to go generally as deep on. And make sure you take a little bit of time to help build that rapport and that relationship, because that is the number one thing for them. Keep in mind earlier when I said the high S is kind of like the mama bear. They want to make sure that they can trust you. They're entrusting you with a very big purchase or a very big sale. And of course, the peace and harmony of their family or their own personality. So make sure you create kind of a relaxed, friendly atmosphere for the entire thing. The best thing that I could describe here for the S is try to keep it more like a conversation between you and a good friend. It's not so much a sales pitch or why they should use you or anything like that, although if they do ask those questions, you should obviously answer them. But it's more of a conversation between you and a close friend. Give them the details that they need, but not so much that it overwhelms them. Now, moving on to the high C. In a presentation form, you need to make sure that you have data to back up any of your claims. So when you're doing a listing presentation, for instance, you need to have all the data in front of you, not just the past solds, which I know is all we use as real estate professionals, but the high C is also going to want to see active on the market. They're going to want to see what pendings are like. And one that a lot of people forget about is withdrawn and pending. I use a little tactic here. I've got a little script for it, and I use it on high C personalities for the most part because it does help them understand exactly how I got to the pricing that I got to, which I can do in another video. And make sure you focus on the accuracy and reliability of your service in general. So things like, hey, I'm going to call you every Friday with an update is just music to a high C's personality. If you call them sporadically throughout the week, over the next month while they're trying to sell their house, they might get a little bit irritated, although generally a lot of people will just kind of overlook that. And big ticket item here, make sure you address any concern that they have in detail with preparation and good work. To give you an idea of what a high C packet might look like, the one that I use it as an example for my team to use is a 47-page presentation.
What?
And yes, 47 pages seems a little extreme, but I knew a few things. One, I knew that both personality types in the household were high C personalities. Two, I knew I was competing with two other agents, including the one that helped sell them a home. And three, they were very happy with that agent. In fact, they told me after the fact, I laid out all the data, I had all this sorts of things to hand to both of them. I was showing them everything, explaining exactly why I got to the price that I did. I ended up suggesting a lower purchase price than what their previous agent did, which their previous agent, I believe, had a very inflated price. And I was also charging a little bit more on the commission. And they told me later that they chose me specifically because I gave them so much undeniable data that I was the right choice for them that they didn't even think about the other two again. They said they did fine presentations, but they paled in comparison to what I did, their exact words. So my point with all of this is, even though it seems a little extreme for a high C personality, that is very necessary. And that just shows you one small example of why it's so important to understand the personality types, because had I gone in there with just a cookie cutter presentation like usual, they for sure would have used the other agent. So for me personally, learning the DISC personality has saved me so many times I can't even begin to describe it. That is probably just one example of what I would guess would be around 100 times out of the 1,000 or so homes that I've sold, where just understanding of the personality types gave me a leg up on the competition to help make sure that I won. If you've made it this far, I wanted to thank you first and foremost for making it this far. Clearly you got some sort of value out of this, so go ahead and hit that like button for me. That would really help us out, spread the word a little bit, and reach out other agents that might be struggling in this category. We've got some really fire videos coming up, so go ahead and follow, and let's learn together. See ya.